My name is Craig Irvin, and you're watching Fast Ways to Provision New Customers in Active Directory Part 3. And in this lesson series, we are going to be using PowerShell on a 2008 R2 domain controller. Part 3, we create some default groups, we set the extension attribute value, and we link certain groups to other groups. And in Part 4, which will be developed a little later on, we're going to wrap things up by showing how to create a user template and then rerun the script and show the final results again. So one of the basic things that we're doing is going to be creating groups, and that's represented by the function called createGroup. Essentially, like the OU, the group is also a basic building block, and we need to create these different groups so we can continue on with the script and do a few other things, such as joining a group to another group. And the next few functions, as you'll see, will build on the existing things that we've done previously with the OUs as well as with the different groups that we create. One of the things that we will have to do when we create a group is we're going to have to set its extension attribute 1 value. In some cases, this doesn't matter, but whenever this existing group that we create turns into an email-enabled group, then we want the extension attribute 1 value set because that is going to be used to generate email addresses. In a previous iteration that I did called VB script to manage and set specific attributes in AD, parts 1 through 4, we basically used a VB script to make sure all the objects in a specific OU have their extension attribute 1 value set. Now, when we're also provisioning a new customer, we also want to preset these extension attribute 1 values. This is basically to reduce the overall time for the VB script to run, and also helps speed up other processes such as the email address creation. So in order to set this extension attribute 1 value, we also have to use two separate functions. The main function, which you'll see, checks if an extension attribute 1 value already exists, because that is a possibility, and if not, what it will do is it will set an error value of 99-9999. Then when this is done, it will compare this whatever value it detected or what was set, and then if it does not equal the correct value, then it actually sets it to the correct one. Now, in order to get the extension attribute 1 value from Active Directory, we also have to take a look at the object's distinguished name, and in order to do this, we create a secondary function called getObjectDN. And basically, these two functions will allow us to wind up setting the extension attribute 1 value to any type of objects, such as groups, users, and contacts. Now, the next thing that we do is we're going to be linking certain groups to other groups. Some of the groups are members of other groups. The reason this would be done would be to have a primary group that is used to set security, and then the subgroups would represent individual customers, which I'll go in a little bit more detail when we actually display the script here in the video. So essentially, this allows us to make the primary group much cleaner. Instead of having 50 different customers and all individual users inside this one massive group, we're able to split it out with other groups and make it much cleaner inside of the primary. And in addition to this, it's very easy to revoke permissions. So if we had to do some type of emergency to where we didn't want XYZ customer to access a specific application, we could just go into that main application group and remove the customer XYZ out of the group, and then you're done. So this is all basic Active Directory administration, so a lot of you should be familiar with these type of principles. In addition to this, the setGroupMemberOf function can be used to set a user to a member of a group, and you'll see this in Part 4. And for those who are watching this video, I will highly encourage you to go over to iterate.com to read the full write-up. This will have more screenshots, references to the script, and essentially this video is only to help visually bring things together so people can understand what's going on inside the script if you are more of a visual person versus a person who likes to read. But this is a video that helps bring it all together, so without reading what was written up, you're going to have less of an understanding of what's going on. So please do go over to iterate.com and take a look at the full write-up. So if you remember, the second function, which is create group, is done after us creating the initial OU structure. And essentially all we're doing is we're going to create the group, which we pass the name, and we set the scope, so it's going to be a global group, and then set the path, and then the group is created. And since we're doing error handling, we are still using try and catch, and if this creation fails, then the catch comes into play, and we basically say that the group already exists. The largest function in this actual script is the set extension attribute value, and inside here we're passing the name again and the account number. Now before we can actually set the extension attribute 1 value, we have to get the distinguished name, which is done in another function called get-object-dn, which I'll show here in a little bit. Again, we're going to do a try catch, and in this particular case we're going to try to get the extension attribute 1 value, and if we are unable to get it, we then set the temp variable to 99-999. Once we have this temp variable set by either getting the value or setting it ourselves, we then compare it, and if it's equal to each other, then the extension attribute 1 value is already set, and therefore we do not need to set it. Otherwise, we try to set the actual extension attribute 1 value by doing a put and then set info, and then we're done. And if this fails at any point, then we basically say we're unable to set the extension attribute 1 value. Now in other cases, we're going to be setting a member of another main group. So in this particular case, we're going to be passing a group name, which represents the primary group, so this is the main application group, and then also we're going to pass the name of the group that we want the member to be. So this could be the user or the subgroup. And again, try and catch. We try it, it's set. If it fails, then we actually write saying that unable to set this particular user or group as a member of this other main group. And then the final function, which is get-object-dn, this gets the distinguished name of the particular object in question, and we do this by doing a get-object and using the LDAP folder based on the SAM account name, which is the AD name that we have set already. Now we'll go through here and come down to where we're actually creating the groups, and this code block is all we need to do to keep on setting more and more groups. And before we do that, we need to remember to set the AD path to a specific OU. So in this particular case, there's a couple groups are going to be based off of being in the applications. And we just go through, we set the name, we create the group, we then set the extension attribute 1 value, and in this particular line here, we're going to take the AD name and do a replace. And you'll see this in the write-up, but we're essentially taking this piece out and replacing it with nothing to formulate the final main application group name, which would wind up being that. And then once we get this set, we do a set group member of, and then we move on. And once we're done with all the application groups, we change the AD path again, as you see, to file security, and then make the final file security application group.